Looking back in 2007 and all the first-person shooters that were out there, I have to admit I'm quite impressed with the variety of games we had. We had Shadowrun, The Darkness, Clive Barker's Jericho, Time Shift, and let's not forget the two juggernauts, Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4. We're just going to focus on Time Shift though. On some interesting information I found about Time Shift is that this game was supposed to be released in 2006, but it got delayed and it was pretty much converted into a new game, but it still promised of what the game was trying to offer when it was first announced: time shifting abilities. You can see the game looks very peculiar in its visual styles, and they changed it into a more appealing look, if you would say, to make the game sell better. When Time Shift got released, it was in the middle of Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4, and that was a bad idea for the developers to do that, because at that time, Halo 3 and COD 4 were probably the most anticipated games in 2007, and this game was Saber Interactive's second game. They made another game called Will Rock, and it's pretty much a Serious Sam clone. I really think the game should have been released earlier, before Halo 3's release. In many people's eyes, Time Shift is either a Fear wannabe or it's a game that wasn't appreciated enough. One thing that Time Shift does right is it's more convenient in its idea. In Fear, you were basically a human soldier with the ability to slow down time. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, but in Time Shift, you're playing a super soldier that can not only slow down time, but pause and reverse. The game does a great job of making you feel like a one-man army. It's a rush-friendly game compared to Fear, where in that game you have to be careful because the enemies could rape you quickly if you wanted to go all John Rambo on your opponents. In Time Shift, you can do that, and the time shifting abilities make it even more enjoyable than Fear. Which one sounds more exciting to you? Hiding behind some cover and taking out 3 guys step by step with the slowdown ability, or circle strafing against 3 guys with bullets shooting at you, but you manage to kill them all with your deadly precision aim? Now, don't get me wrong, the game might sound easy because you get more freedom of movement, but don't think of that. The game's AI can be quite impressive. It's not really on par to Fear's AI, but they will do some interesting things on you as you play through the campaign. One thing I have to say about is if you play a lot of first-person shooters, I recommend you to bump up the difficulty to Elite, which is the hardest difficulty in the game, but it feels more balanced than the other difficulty options. I wouldn't say it's the perfect difficulty, but it's somewhere around there. So what that means is it's not too hard, but not too easy. Time Shift also features the ability to pause time and to reverse time other than slowing it down. The other two are mostly used for puzzles, but at times they can be useful in combat, but the slowing down ability is still the best one to use. Also, if you are low on life, you could pause time and it will magically heal you from your time juice, I would probably call it. Your time juice acts like your life regeneration. You gotta wait for a while and then it slowly regains its energy. The only difference is that if you get shot, it doesn't stop your rejuvenation. The weapons in this game are really cool. You got quite a bit of option too. You got the standard pistol, submachine gun, shotgun, this crossbow that reminds me of the torque bow from Gears of War, and a couple more. I also got to mention this weapon called Bloodhound. It's basically a rocket launcher, but it's so much fun to use. Every weapons in the game features a primary and secondary function. So the pistol primary mode is a standard single shot bullet that's decent at mid-range, but its secondary mode acts like a mini shotgun. For the enemies, you're most likely going to fight a bunch of soldiers in this game, like the Call of Duty games, but there are different variations of them. The flash guards are probably my favorite out of all of them. These guys move lightning quick, so you're forced to slow down time or pause it to get them. But the enemy quantity of Time Shift is rather disappointing. Most of them feel like the normal armored soldiers you're fighting. The toughest enemy in this game is basically like you. He can slow down time, pause, and so on. But once he pops up in your screen, all you gotta do is pause time and unload a bunch of bullets in his head and he's dead. If only Saber Interactive made those guys lightning quick like the flash guard and being immune from the headshots and the pause ability, you got yourself a worthy opponent. I also wish there could have been some mechs like Fear, because those guys were tough to kill in that game. But you do fight them in this game, but only encounter one mech, and it acts more like a mini boss. Yeah, it's going to show more similarities to Fear, but there's nothing wrong taking influences from it. well-known games. The hunters in Halo are very identical to the hunters in Marathon, but they do have differences. It all comes down to the player though. Do you like FPS games that require you to run and gun a lot? And do you like games with slowing down time mechanics? If you do, this game might be for you. But I need to tell you some other information. First of all, the game might get a little repetitive for some people, and the storyline is pretty hard to understand. Once you beat the game and unlock the cutscenes, you have to watch them multiple times to really understand the game's story. I would say the length is quite acceptable, ranging a good 7 to 8 hour campaign, and there could be replay value if you want to try different methods with your time shifting abilities. While the campaign was pretty enjoyable, it's not really comparable to games like Half-Life 2, Halo Combat Evolved, or any FPS games with a great campaign. Time Shift is totally a game that's worth having a sequel. It's a shame that we might not see one since it seemed like it didn't do that well in the reviews. Also, the game has a lot of potential to be an excellent shooter. If only Saber Interactive could have noticed some of its flaws. With that said, Time Shift is still a worthy purchase, and despite being an old game, its time shifting abilities will never make the game too dated.